Good evening and welcome back. I'm Teddy, and you are listening to Night Talk. Well, I want to begin this programming with a different story. It's something heavier than our usual commentary. It's the kind of story that makes you sit down, stop scrolling, and ask yourself, what is happening to our kids? In Florida, a 14-year-old boy, just a child, was arrested after allegedly shooting and killing both of his parents. Two people are gone, a family destroyed, a life forever altered. And we're left once again with the echo of questions we don't have answers to. We often talk about the trauma that shows up in our communities. We speak on cycles of violence, emotional neglect, untreated mental illness, and tonight is no different because a story like this doesn't come out of nowhere. It comes from somewhere ignored, somewhere broken. And now it's too late to rewind the moment. I'm not here to sensationalize this. I'm here to ask, what went wrong? What missed signs? What unmet needs and what unresolved rage or confusion lived in that boy's heart? We can't be numb to this. We can't look away just because it's uncomfortable. Because this didn't start with a gun, it started with something much quieter. And if we keep ignoring the quiet parts, we'll keep walking away and waking up to tragedies like this one. Let's talk about it. Let's not pretend this is normal because it's not. It's not normal. It's not okay. And it should never become our expectations. All right, so let's get caught up on the latest in this tragic story. It really is. It's sad. It's heartbreaking for especially the families of the victims. Let me come out and just say hello to everyone. And I see my moderators. And yes, I said it's not okay. I see Victoria Ada Harpending. I hope I pronounced it. This is fair use commentary. It's sensitive information, and I intend to treat it respectfully. As I mentioned earlier, I do not plan to sensationalize this story, and it is one of our own, I should say, from the YouTube family. I learned of this last night, and I thought that, you know, tonight I'd talk about it. Some of you may be familiar with um, the YouTube handle. Name was, what was it, 901? Mm-hmm. Don Diva. And prayers up, I should say, to her family and her friends and her loved ones. I did not know her, but I can tell you that I did see, you know, she was a moderator for trees and all about the trees. At least that's where I recall seeing, her participate and shout out trees. And I even have, some of the videos that I can remember her appearing at the bottom of the chat. So, trigger warning, yes, Vicky Black. So, let me see if I can play at least audio from the story. This would be Action News Jackson, uh, Bill, Florida, or Jax, I guess that's what it is. Action News Jack is learning new details from the 911 calls release from the night that Clay County deputies say the 14-year-old, his name is Trevor Lee, killed his parents. The Clay County Sheriff's Office shared two calls, one made by Trevor Lee and one made by his older sister. This appeared on YouTube 3 hours ago. So let me see if I can.
Tonight, we are getting the first look at the 14-year-old accused of killing his parents. This is Trevor Lee. Clay County deputies say he called 911 just after midnight Monday while standing in the parking lot of a church over a mile away from his home. I'm Tanika Hughes.
And I'm Ben Becker. Lee's parents were found dead inside their home on Silver Point and County Road 220. Action Jack's Madison Folk News live in Middleburg. And Madison, you listened to two newly released 911 calls.
And Ben, one of those 911 calls came from Trevor's sister, Ayanna Russell, who's actually stationed out in California. The other came from Trevor himself, and much of Trevor's call was redacted. But one thing that we were able to hear is that he asked the dispatcher if he wanted to pray with him. Tonight, 911 calls give us a small glimpse into what happened moments after 14-year-old Trevor Lee allegedly killed his parents, David and Brandy. The Clay County Sheriff's Office released two 911 calls, one from Trevor and one from his sister, who's in California. She stayed on the phone with dispatchers for nearly 20 minutes while deputies tried to track down her brother and get into the home.
I knew for sure I had the guys like over.
According to a police report, Lee's mother and father were found in their bedroom. Both have been shot several times. Lee told police there was an argument at some point Sunday evening. Lee then allegedly left the house and walked over a mile to a church down the road where he then called 911.
Well, I was going to ask if you could pray for me, ma'am. Right now.
I'll definitely be praying for you, son.
Action News Jack spoke exclusively to Lee's sister, Ayanna Russell. She says despite this horrific tragedy, she still loves her little brother.
Did he make a mistake? Yes. He made a big mistake, a huge one. My little brother, he is not a monster.
Now, we reached out to the state attorney's office and they told us that Lee had a detention hearing this morning in juvenile court and is now being held in jail. And when we asked the state attorney's office if they will charge him as an adult, they said the spokesperson says it's still an active investigation and they will let us know once that decision is made. And they did tell us, however, that Lee's next hearing will be August 13th in Clay County.
So that's one report. There is an extensive, more detailed report. Let me just tell you where you can find it. Hang on. I'm just panning through these. Give me a second. It's also on YouTube. And let me go to it so I can give you. It's from Law and Crime Network. It was published 5 hours ago. I'm going to play, it's 25 minutes. I'm going to play, maybe a minute or two and let you hear from the sheriff.
From a young man who stated he had just killed his parents.
That young man was a 14-year-old boy, and he made a shocking 911 call from a church.
I need to pray.
You need to pray?
Yes, ma'am.
I look at the disturbing double homicide case out of Florida, and the sheriff will join me with new details about the case.
And after he committed this heinous, terrible crime, he called her first.
Welcome to Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. A family in Clay County, Florida is mourning a terrible, terrible loss and likely trying to figure out what happened after a 14-year-old boy called 911 and admitted to shooting and killing his parents. This all happened in Middlesburg, Florida, which is in Clay County and the greater Jacksonville area. This is a relatively safe area. And while this would be shocking no matter where it happened, it was particularly surprising to happen in this community. The sheriff says 14-year-old Trevor Lee shot and killed his parents at the family's home on Silver Point. It happened sometime early Sunday morning. An incident report says Clay County deputies found Dave Lee and Brandy Smith Lee with gunshot wounds in their bedroom. And their son, Trevor Lee, had walked to a church and called 911, but not before his sister called 911 first. Take a listen.
Are you there with him? Send help. No, I'm all the way in California. Please, I need you to send help. What makes you? I don't know. I don't know where he's at. I have no idea where he's at. But please, hurry up.
Now, as I mentioned, that was Trevor Lee's older sister, and she's in the military in California. Trevor's sister said something that might be important later.
Honestly, I'm in the military. I don't know what goes on. But they just had a good day. They went to the movies, bro. They went to the movies.
The older sister told that 911 call taker that they had had a good day and had gone to the movies. So who knows what that could reveal. Then Trevor Lee called 911 from the Cross Point Church early Sunday morning. Now, a lot of these calls are redacted because in Florida, if a person makes admissions to a crime, they are redacted from the public record until the case ends.
911, how can I help you?
Hello, I'm by the road. I threw my backpack away from me. I'm stripped. I'm waiting for the police.
What do you mean you're
I have
stripped?
nothing in my pocket. I emptied my pockets and everything. There's nothing in my pockets. And I want to I'm not like on the sidewalk. I'm like in the middle part.
You're going to be in the parking lot?
No, like in the middle part.
In
Actually,
the middle part of what? Of the church?
I'm gonna pray first. I need to pray.
You need to pray?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Before you start praying, tell me exactly where you're at.
Um, if you're driving towards the church, like I'm right out in front of the church. There's a big cross.
Now, keep in mind, during this call, Trevor Lee has told the call taker that he shot and killed his parents. At one point during the call, the 14-year-old relies on that call taker for comfort.
Do you pray?
Go ahead. I'll listen to you.
Well, I was gonna ask if you could pray for me, ma'am. Right now.
I'll definitely be praying for you, son. Okay, we've asked them not to point guns at you.
So you could hear, some of this conversation, the call from his older sister who lives out in California in the military, and then Trevor himself, who after the incident, allegedly he walked to a nearby church and immediately called 911. I also listened to conversations from others reporting on this, other media sources, who said, one gentleman said that was an immediate sign that he was remorseful for what had happened. It is a very tragic event story. Two adult husband and wife, mother, father, lost their lives, 44, I believe, and 45 years old, at the hands of alleged their own son. He asked for prayer, said he needed to pray. Just shocking. He asked the operator, you heard him, to pray for him. The family needs prayer. He needs prayer. So again, a Florida teen is now in custody after fatally shooting his parents before walking more than a mile to a church and calling 911. This is the Clay County Sheriff. Her name is Michelle Cook, said during a news conference that a 14-year-old male called 911 around 12:01 a.m. Monday from a church in Middleburg, Florida. During the call, the teen reported that he had shot and killed his parents, 44-year-old David Lee and 45-year-old Brandy Smith, at their home after a domestic argument, according to police. He stated that deputies could find his parents at the house and that he had walked just a mile away to the church and he would wait for the deputies to arrive to take him into custody. Cook said, if you listen to the 911 dispatch operator, she said that they were on their way and they won't have their guns pointed. Okay. Why does it matter? Why it matters? It matters because a double fatal shooting has shocked this community, this Clay County community, and it's now raising urgent questions about gun access, adolescent mental health, and family intervention. This incident underscores broader national concerns about youth violence and the availability of firearms in the home, especially as investigators look into any underlying causes and that, what happened, the systems in place that could have prevented such tragedies. I know. They have not decided if he is going to be tried as an adult. Um, this is Florida. I'm not as familiar, with cases in Florida with teens involved in shootings. Of course, they are going to be looking into the circumstances surrounding this shooting, death of these, his parents. They will no doubt interview, family members, friends, neighbors, others who knew them. This young man had a close friend who is obviously reeling and shocked by, what happened and in disbelief, saying that, he was a you know, good boy. And a lot of people that I'm reading are saying things like that. Something terribly, terribly went wrong. So before I go any further, I just want to read some of your comments real quick, and then I'll make some points, maybe on mental health and other things. Um, but again, prayers up for the families. I didn't know um, Brandy personally or her family or anyone that is, even close to them. But except, being part of YouTube, another loss here on YouTube. And this time it's very tragic. Okay. Yes, trigger warning for mature audiences. Only please be respectful, and I'm sure that you will with your comments. Mhm. Let me go up to the top. Good evening again to my moderators. Love Wins, I see you out there. Victoria, welcome to the Bear Cave. And along with others I know that are in the bushes. Let's see what you have to say on this. Victoria says, I grew up alone. It made me to want to love and be loved. I don't know why the violence happens. No. Still in shock. Baby Juju. Mhm. It's not me, says I'm driving, so I can't type and shouting out. Listening in tonight. Thank you for being here. Yes, he was asking for prayer. Freebird Lee says, such a tragic story. Young couple at home found in their bed, shot and deceased. The scene must have just been devastating. As many times as, officers have to enter homes and they don't know what they're going to find, I don't think any officer or detective this is just my opinion, ever gets used to seeing, tragedies like this. It's more shocking when we learn it's a teen involved in the crime. Yes. So whether or not he will be tried as an adult, again, they'll look into it, what the circumstances are. I, I, my gut feeling, Vicky, who says they're probably going to try him as an adult, I tend to lean that direction myself. Yeah, but we won't, we won't learn. His next hearing is mid-August. It's not me says sounds like he said he had emptied his pockets so the cops didn't think he was still armed. Yes. It was something like that. And again, the dispatcher says they wouldn't have their guns drawn, I think. Yeah. Rest in heaven. Brandy and David. Think it's good that he walked away from home, says Vicky. Yes. So mental health and isolation of, in teenagers, just in general, questions about this. Don't know the answers, but questions for any teen who might have experienced something such as this. Was this child, and 14 years old is still considered, a child, not an adult. Was this child showing any warning signs? They mentioned, something the night before, um, some type of, you know, just family. We can just say family dispute or something happened. How are we missing any of the emotional red flags in our youth? Do schools, think about this, churches, communities, all of us, are there enough resources um, available that could have intervened? And let's not forget it's access to guns in homes. Where did the child get the weapon? Where did he get the weapon? And was the gun legally owned and properly stored? Are we doing enough? Anyone who has firearms in their home and minors, are we doing enough to secure the firearms away from them? Yeah. Is there any type of cultural uh, effect, around boys that are in crises? Are boys allowed to express, themselves, emotional pain? How often do we hear that, young adults, young men, young boys, young children, but I'm talking about boys right now, hide maybe sadness or any type of, signs, rage, or anything like that because they're taught not to cry. I think I've spoken about this before. Yeah. Preventing, um, you know, maybe boys to, express themselves enough so that they can have real healing. Mhm. Or do they have to suppress it and then later it comes out like maybe something like this? We don't know yet. Ask yourself in general, what happens in the home? What home environment? What role does that play in what happened in this home environment? Was this a case of discipline or something untreated? Were there any signs, again, mental health issues, any of that? Those will be questions I'm sure will be asked and examined. 14 years old, that's a very important time in teens development. Mhm. Did this young man feel uh, trapped in his home or, anything like that emotionally? Or, those are just, questions that I'm thinking about. Did a system fail this child before he reached for this weapon? What happened? And what happens now, really? Can a 14-year-old truly grasp the gravity of the M word? Should he be tried as an adult? What about the victims, the child, the community? How do we even talk about these things without exploiting grief? That's why I said, being sensitive. Because often, and you just, you know, look up this story, and I've seen, different clips on it. Many times, news outlets focus far too much on the act and not enough on the root causes. What could have stopped this? Again, these are just questions that might um, provoke conversation and real searching, you know, inward. What can our schools, parents, community leaders, churches, extended family members, are we investing enough in education, emotional education, and not just academic achievement? These are just some of the questions I've been thinking about, wanting to ask my audience, but immediately to remember that there are two souls that were lost to this tragic uh, shooting. it's going to have far reaching consequences for the families, you know, of the victims. Okay. Let's see more of your comments. Freebird Lee says juvenile statutes probably won't fit such a crime sentence. So likely will be tried as an adult. Hmm. Another listener again, Victoria says, considering we have so many mandated reporters, it's hard to understand why no one saw any signs. Um, Interesting comment. I know I would have been familiar with uh, this this young woman and mother. I didn't know anything about her personal life, nothing um, myself. Yeah, but you know what? On this platform, many times people do tell their stories, or we learn bits and pieces of people's lives or stories. Yeah. Sometimes people can be crying out almost silently, you know, signaling something just doesn't, seem right, feel right. Yeah. And it is incumbent on uh, those of us who are mandated reporters to speak up. Mhm. We're tasked with that. My stepdaughters, you say, were taught at a young age about guns. They know everything there is to know about guns and the dangers. Yes, into the hands. Mhm. It can end up with stories that have so much grief. And that's what this will be. Because, when you learn of the death of someone, you really don't think about um, it, as much as when it's not normal. This would not be in the this would not be in fall in the category of normal at all. No, not even an accident, um, and that's why they call them accidents. This would not be categorized as an accidental death. I don't believe that more will, come out. Sometimes gun violence has been involved in an accidental shootings when it involves uh, young children or young teens who might get a hold of a weapon and it discharges. Mhm. Yes, you've heard of that. But this, from what we've learned so far, would not be in that category. So then it is so shocking. It's shocking on so many levels. One, there's a teen, it's his parents that makes it more disturbing. There's just many um, aspects, we'll say, aspects of this that make it the more shocking and disturbing. But again, we don't know all the details. But this is a crime story, and it's being reported all over the news, the country, Mhm. Because of the magnitude of this type of story. Gun violence, a teen, you know, couple. It has all of that. Mhm. So we've learned he has an older sister. He's 14, so she's out in California. You could hear in her voice um, that she was distraught and said some words, about her brother being a good, you know, and I'm sure in disbelief. I believe that would also be her parents, but again, we don't, I don't know all the circumstances, but it did say his older sister. So he's 14, she's an adult. It seems she's in some type of branch of service, so she would be an adult. Don't know if there are any other, siblings. Does the his father's side of the family? It's just there's so many tentacles that will be far-reaching, and immediately will be, any arrangements, and it's just a very, very difficult time all the way around. All the way around. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. Bring to your uh, to my platform. It is midnight exactly. It's 12 a.m. So I think I will wrap this up. Yeah. Yes, signs are not always evident. They are not. That's why I said sometimes, maybe, you know, no, and I'm not speculating in this case, but in general, uh, someone could have been suffering in silence. Sometimes people do suffer in silence. Yeah, yeah. Let's see. I was seeing this story flashing on Newsbreak, but I had no idea, of who it was. Yeah, that's Vicky. Anything else? Let me check my email quickly. And yes, you can email me at unwindwithteddy@gmail.com. Join me sometime tomorrow. Uh, yes, wait a minute. Let me put on just a little, soft music, I guess. Mm, Give me a second. Let me look at my email. That's a lovely melody. It is. Thank you, all of you who sent emails to me. I read them. Let's turn this music down slightly. That will do it for me for tonight. Thank you all for joining me. Biggest bear hugs go out to all the grizzlies and the honey bears. But now it's time to say good night. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Teddy. Sleep well.